I honestly got nothing. Normally I got something witty and clever to say in the beginning of my videos and kind of counteracts and not counteracts, but leads into what the video is about. But or the podcast, again, if you don't know, this is also in podcast form. I got nothing. But we got a lot to talk about. What is up, Fin fans? How's everyone doing on this Tuesday? The Buffalo Bills lost last night. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that fantastic? If only the Miami Dolphins actually put together a competent team and actually more competitive and actually learned how to end games, wouldn't that be fantastic to watch Buffalo lose last night to the Atlanta Falcons? Wouldn't you feel so much better about it going into the next couple of games due to the fact that they're 4-2 and you easily could have been a team that's competitive and able to compete and all that stuff if you would have beat the Patriots like you should have, or you should have beat the Panthers, or you should have beat the Chargers if your defense would have stopped or your offense would have continued being better. But no, we're in a situation where our team blows. But anyway, there's a bunch of things I want to talk about today. Normally on my Tuesdays, I come out with a film breakdown. Honestly, I watched the film. Yes, I did torture myself for no reason because I watched it and there's not much to talk about, to be honest with you. It's the same stuff over and over again that we saw the first 4 games. It's just again, and I'm not going to subject you to watching me point out, hey, look, the pass rush isn't doing anything. Hey, look, the guards aren't doing anything. Hey, look, could have had a sack, didn't. Hey, look, Tua missed the pass. Hey, look, 3 and out and a 3 and out. And hey, look, the team is competitive, but they fall apart. It's just, I'll spare you what I went through. How about that? Next week, film breakdown. We face Cleveland, film breakdown. Today, there's a lot of things I want to talk about. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to spare their eyes. And we'll get into some things I want to talk about. First and foremost, I do have to shout out today's sponsor. And you guys know, official sponsor of the channel during the football season. Some of you guys have hit me up being like, hey, I used them. You didn't say it like an old man. Hey. I use them. I won this. Cool. Blah, blah, blah. Again, $20. You don't even need to deposit any money. Go check it out. Click the link in the description. But if you use the promo code DDW, you get 100% matched up to $100. Sleeper. Love them. Fantastic. Yeah. Also, like I said in the intro, I do have a podcast, which long form videos I put over there. So like the previews and then my Monday videos, and maybe even this is on the podcast, but like my short little 10-minute doodads or my picks, the picks videos that come out Wednesday or Thursday, or the recap, they're not on podcast form because they're short. They're shmort is what I'm going to say. So I got a lot. I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about 13 tabs open of things that I want to talk about with you guys. So again, on this Tuesday morning, grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit down, eat a nice croissant. Or if you're driving to work, hopefully you got about a 20-minute drive because I'm going to talk your ear off a little bit. First thing I want to talk about, Joe Shag came out and he said, Adam Schefter said, a team to watch on the trade market is the Miami Dolphins. They've got Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. Obviously, the closer we get to the trade deadline, I will make a whole video talking about who are the Dolphins buyers or sellers. It should be a very obvious answer, and who could be up for trade for the Miami Dolphins. Now, again, you're leaving that up to Chris Grier to do it. I don't trust that man watching my goldfish. But hey, what are we going to do? Also, speaking of Jalen Phillips, he had the 9th best pass rush grade in the NFL in week 6 with an 83.9. Love Jalen Phillips. He is one of my favorite Dolphins right now. But what breaks my heart is the man cannot finish. I was going to say something horrible. Something real bad. I was gonna be like your girlfriend, but anyway, he should have laid out Justin Herbert. But for some reason, I don't know if he was afraid of getting a penalty or whatnot, or if he was going for the ball, the throwing. He just slid down him. You just lay him out, man. He probably was afraid of getting a penalty, in all honesty, because you land on him too hard. Anyway, so there's that. Then there is this news and notes that came out yesterday. There won't be any Dolphin players returning from injured reserve this week per Mike McDaniel. That means no James Daniels, no Liam Eichenberg, no Jason Sanders, and no Austin Jackson. Isn't that fantastic? So again, we go out and get James Daniels. We're happy that, Austin Jackson's back. Don't mean nothing. We have one of, if not the worst offensive lines in football. And, just to piggyback off that, my man Hassan Patel said Cole Strange is tied for first in the NFL with 5 hurries allowed and tied for 4th in pressures allowed, 3. Jonah is tied for 3rd in hurries allowed, 3, and tied for 4th in pressures allowed, 3 against the Chargers. I don't even want to tell you what it is on the season. And somebody said to me when it came to the Chargers game, well, look, Justin Herbert had a bad offensive line. Look what he was able to do. I would say it was a push, right? If you want to say Justin Herbert had a worse offensive line, right? His tackles, yes. Well, I would say this. Left tackle, Dolphins better. Right tackle, I'd say it's a push between Borum and the guy they had. Guards, Chargers are better. Center, Dolphins are better. But you take all that and you look at the defenses they faced. Chargers faced a pass rush that can't do anything, even though they have the names in Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, Jalen Phillips, Zach Sealer. Can't do anything. Chargers, on the other hand, their defensive line is much better. So that's what you got to take from and all that stuff. So there's also that. Then Joe Shad had this from Ian Rappaport. Kind of boiled my blood a little bit and might get me a little bit more upset as I read it back to you guys, as my eyes itchy because I have something in it. This is from Ian Rappaport. From my understanding, it would take something significant for the Dolphins to move on from the head coach. They just extended a head coach that Stephen Ross really likes and believes in. The Dolphins want this to work and believe it will work. I don't believe that for a split second, Ian Rappaport, whoever your source is. I don't believe that they just extended their head coach and Stephen Ross really likes him. They also just extended Tony Sparano and then they fired him. So that means nothing. The Dolphins want this to work and believe it will work. You're 1-5. You're 1-5. You believe it'll work? What has shown you that you believe that this will work? And I have people who still believe in this team, which again, I have no qualms about that. More power to you. I'm not here to rain on your parade. I don't want to be a negative Nancy. I'm just here to tell you the truths. And then you could take the truths and do with it what you want. This team is bad. There is no turning it around. When we were 1-2, hell, I'll even give you 1-3. You lost to Buffalo, then you beat the Jets, and you're 1-3. I'm like, hey, you got the Panthers, you can get it back to 2-3. Then you got the Chargers, who are decimated with injuries. You never know. Hey, you could turn this around. I had that percentage, that 5% they can turn around. The defensive line is bad. It gets no pressure and can't stop the run. Did you see what Bijan Robinson did to the Buffalo Bills? He's going to dominate Miami. Like Quinshon Judkins, who I think is the running back I think he's on the Patriots. Whoever the running back for the Browns is going to destroy this defensive line on Sunday. There's that. Your offensive line is bad. Is really bad to the point where you can't let plays develop. Your quarterback is inconsistent, and for some reason his mechanics are off, and he's missing wide open players. Your play calling is bad, where you had a play where you took your left-handed quarterback and rolled him out right. Now, is that out of the realm of possible? No, it happens all the time, but you don't do it when your offense is struggling. There's so many things wrong with this team. To think that all of a sudden it's just going to work, I don't see it. Now, if all of a sudden this defense wakes up one day from a fever dream and they just start playing out of their mind, they just stop the run and they start getting 4 sacks a game, it's a possibility. But you still have to face Lamar Jackson because he will be back for that Thursday night game. All of the injured that you see with the Ravens will be back for that game on Thursday night. Same thing with Buffalo. Then you have to go to Madrid to face Jaden Daniels, who's going to also kill you. Then you get a bye, right? So to me, that's 3 losses right there. So you're looking at 1-8. And then you might win the next 2, 3. Why did I say 8? Am I losing it? No, we're 1-5. Yeah, those 3 losses, 1-8. And then I don't know, man. I don't even know what I'm saying. It's not 8. I don't know. I'm losing my mind. No. So from my understanding, it would take something significant for the Miami Dolphins to move on from their head coach. You're 1-5. How much more significant does it need to get? Your defense is ranked in the bottom quarter of the NFL. Your offense is not good. How much more significant does it need to get? And then to put the cherry on the top of the sundae, again, Stephen Ross, supposedly he does this every game where there's a certain amount of time left. He comes down and he stands on the sideline. Well, he did it for the Chargers game. There was 40-something seconds left, and he came and he stood on the side. That's him. And if you look right here, this is the play. You could see right here that McConkey just ran out of bounds. And this is his reaction with a hand on his head. That's there. Do something. Do something. So there's that, right? And then, I want to talk about the drama, and we'll get to the drama, hence the title of the video. But Colin Cowherd came out and he actually said something I agreed with, which kind of blew my socks off. He said, if you had to as a quarterback, you need a good offensive line. It stunk since he's been here. Don't know what they're doing. And he's not wrong. Again, I talked about this yesterday. You have a quarterback who's not that mobile, who is injury prone. As you can see in his presser, he's wearing a flak jacket. And you decide, I'm going to get speedy receivers. Because that'll help. Not even tall receivers. Not even tall, fast receivers. You're getting short receivers that he can't even take the advantage of throwing his back shoulder 50-50 balls. But let's get to the drama. Because there's drama with this team. Obviously, you're losing. You're 1-5, and there's drama with this team. And again, if in my eyes, going into the bye week, the Dolphins win the next 2 games, they're probably going to be like 3-8. In all honesty, like 3-8, and you're done. Your season's done. There's no turning around. The only way you can really salvage this season is going into the bye. If you somehow, I don't even know how. You would have to win every single game. You'd have to win every single game. Go 6-5. I think somebody told me online that they think the Dolphins will go 5-6. And I'm just, again, I don't want to rain on people's parade. So I'm like, hey, man, I'm happy for you if you think that way. I really do. So back to the drama, right? Tua came out yesterday and he said, we got guys showing up at a player-only meeting late, guys not showing up to the player-only meeting. And then there was clarification that it was positions meeting is what he meant. And then, people are like getting on him about the fact that you don't own up to your interceptions, which isn't true because he did own up to his interceptions. But still, it's like, you don't say that. And again, I will get to that. Tron Armstead said Tua has been sharing a lot, talking more in detail than I have heard him in my time in Miami and his career. I'm against that approach. What he said can't happen. So essentially what he's saying is Tua's talking a lot, and essentially he's like against that, but a lot of what's happening that Tua is saying can't happen. Like what he said can't happen, meaning coming late to all these things and all that stuff, it can't happen. But that's where the lack of a leader and the lack of discipline and a lack of whatever shows. But also back to what Kurt Warner said yesterday in my video, where you should have that in you. Someone shouldn't have to bring it out of you to be a better player, to be a better teammate. That should already be in you. And if it's not, that's a problem. And again, that's where it goes back to the head coach, that if you see something like this happening, get them off your team. But they're not. Sealer comes out and someone asked him today about Tua's comments. He says, we're working through some things. I'm not going to sit here and pick apart someone's opinion or what they're doing. We all have the right to our opinion. So again, another situation where I'm not gonna address that. I'll leave that alone. Patrick Paul was asked about Tua's comment. If the quarterback talked to the Dolphins teammates about it, said it's not a topic he wants to discuss openly. He says, I try to keep that stuff out of the media. I think that should be handled internally. He wouldn't say if it was handled internally. That's how Tua should have said what he said, right? Here's the problem with Tua. He's not very good talking to the press because he says things that he shouldn't, right? Like him coming out after his rookie year and saying, I didn't know the playbook that well. People took it and said, he didn't know the playbook. You kidding me? He never said that. He said, I didn't know it that well. Shouldn't have said anything. He comes out and he says these things, right? Someone asks him a question about how do you deal with criticism from the press, from people like me, from Twitter? And instead of just saying, at the end of the day, I go home to my family and I'm happy and I push out all that negativity because I have my kids and I love them, he goes and uses an example to say, also, I could throw 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions. At the end of the day, I have my family, which again, yeah, I agree 1,000%. And people are taking that blowing out of proportion. But that's because if you notice the people who are blowing out of proportion are the people that don't like Tua, because what he said wasn't wrong, right? Because at the end of the day, it obviously bothers him. The man said he will die playing this game. Like people like to ignore things he says. But on the flip side, just don't say it. He's not very good. So again, what Patrick Paul said, I try to keep that stuff out of the media. I think that should be handled internally, is something that Tua should have said, right? Come up there and say, someone's asking like, how's the morale of the team? Yada, yada. There's things we need to work on. And there's character issues or what, let's say he goes a little too much. There's character issues that we need to work on, but that's stuff that we will work on internally. And we won't talk about it publicly or whatever, right? That's not what he said. That's not what he said. Then Rasul Douglas came out and said, I have never been 1-5. I'm not used to losing. It seems like every week we find new ways to lose. I ain't trying to be 1-5. We got to look ourselves in the mirror and say, what did you do wrong without looking at anyone else? And again, that's where Tua kind of comes and he bites himself, or he kind of tries to whatever, because, I got to talk to the coaches about the play calling, and I got to talk to Bev, and I got to talk to this and that, and, we got to do this, and I better see people in the film room, and Don't say those things. That's something you should say in the locker room. That's something you should grab your guys and say, listen, we can't be doing, this is internal stuff that he should be saying that he's not. And Chris Kaufman came out and he said this, which I found to be very interesting, right? He said several times during his presser today, Mike McDaniel made clear his disdain and disrespect for the meetings Tua referred to last night. He made sure to point out multiple times that those meetings have nothing to do with winning or losing on Sunday. That was disrespectful. Players wouldn't be organizing these film sessions on their extra time if they didn't feel the need, didn't feel like they'd be helpful to accomplish their goals. I do not feel, after watching all this unfold today, that this is less of a problem than it was last night. Not even with Tua reportedly reaching out to and apologizing to teammates for saying things publicly he knows he should have kept in-house. Again, he even realized it. This is starting to look like a full-on Cold War between franchise quarterback and head coach. And what's even more interesting is about a month ago, Tom Pelissero said this.
I mean, there's not enough said, and I don't mean to just be a Mike McDaniel defender here, but there is not enough talked about with the hoops that Mike McDaniel has to jump through on a week in, week out basis to design a game plan for a quarterback who can't get hit. You can't have him holding the ball. You can't have him designed runs. You can't really run quarterback sneaks. We've seen some of the, in relative terms, the least athletic quarterbacks in the NFL get exposed at times as runners. Tom Brady ran a pass route in a Super Bowl. It didn't end well, but they put that in the game plan. You can't do that with Tua. You can't run a naked bootleg. You're not going to run zone read with him just to keep people honest. If you watch the game last night, whether it's he's not trusting the protection, whether it's he doesn't want to get hit, or he's been told don't get hit, he's not stepping up in the pocket. Everything when there's pressure, he's going out the back of the pocket and he's flushing left. And all those things combined make it really hard to produce on a week in and week out basis, that even when you draw up a play that maybe has a chance to succeed, he either doesn't go the right spot with it, or the timing and the drop is off. It's just a lot of different things that go into this. And having said all that, Rich, they've still, if you look at the schedule on the other side of the bye, they've got 4 or 5 winnable games coming up here where they've got a chance to get back in it. But
so this was after the Buffalo Bills loss, which again, after that they go 1-2. So, even if you look at the Saints and the Jets again and Cincinnati again with 3 out of the 6 games afterwards, it don't really matter. It don't really matter. So again, that's Tom Pelissero saying that. I know somebody mentioned to me that Mike McDaniel's agent or somebody in the organization said this. No, that's Tom Pelissero's opinion. It's not Mike McDaniel's agent or a source inside the organization is saying that Mike McDaniel can't run his offense properly because of Tua. But on the other hand, he's not that far off with the whole situation, right? But again, when I think back and I even look at in my mind yesterday's game, not yesterday, but Sunday's game, some of the play calling was horrible and it exposes Tua, right? You want to say, oh, he doesn't want to, he can't run a naked boot, or he can't do this or that because he's afraid of Tua getting hit, or he doesn't want his quarterback to get hit. Yet against the Panthers, you ran play action plays that left a free rusher, hoping that they would bite on the play action play. That wasn't working because they only rushed for 19 yards. And he still was getting hit. So again, I get where Tom Pelissero is coming from, but it doesn't make any sense when you look at the plays that are being called. You have a left-handed quarterback rolling out right into the pressure. Again, it doesn't make any sense. So I don't know if I really believe that. But there is drama that's happening within the Dolphins. And the players are starting to get fed up with losing, especially when you lose to teams that you very easily could have beaten these past 2 weeks, right? The Panthers, you had a lead. Even you had a lead on a punt return that your special teams gave up, and then you get another touchdown that your defense gives up. You had a lead with 40-something seconds left that your defense gave up. So it's, how many games did we lose by like 1 or 2 scores? I think 3 of the 5 of our losses were lost by 1-score games. I think the Patriot game was a 1-score game, and these last 2 games were a 1-score game, which is just like the worst. It as a football player, you just sit back and you're just like, so yeah, the Patriots game was a 6-point loss, so it's a 1-score loss. Bills were a 10-point loss. The Panthers were a 3-point loss, and the Chargers were a 2-point loss. So 3 of your 5 losses were a 1-score game. And it kills. as a football competitor that you lose in such a fashion. Regardless if you think it's Tua's fault or not, like the Chargers game where 45 seconds, or the Panthers game where we couldn't march down the field and kick a field goal and we end up punting, and then, blah, blah, blah. The Patriots game with the interception, the Bills game with the interception, like one after another, it kills. And the players notice it, and the players are feeling it. As Rasul Douglas said, he's never been 1-5. And it's going to start becoming a problem because this drama is going to start spilling out. And I think that's where you'll start, because some people even noticed, like they felt like while they were watching it, like the Chargers game, they were like, it just doesn't, I forgot who said it. I think it was an ex-player. It was like, they don't look like they have their heart in it right now. And what drives me nuts even more is they know what the problem is, but they're not addressing it. Like, your defensive tackles are struggling badly to stop the run. Your left guard is struggling. Make a move. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't want to do this or that or blah, 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 because, I don't want to affect his confidence or who gives a crap, man? You're trying to coach for your livelihood, for your career. You need to make the moves. But again, that's where my problem with Mike McDaniel comes in, because he does not make the moves that he needs to. I think that's why Stephen Ross likes him, because they're both in the same situation where, okay, this is what needs, like a fun fact. Jalen Wright, we traded up to get him, gave up a future third, which was this past draft, and he's been a healthy scratch for 2 straight weeks. And you might say to yourself, well, Ollie Gordon got 4 carries on Sunday. They're just Achan. And it's just like, you're not helping the situation by not playing Willie Gay Jr., not seeing the field. The few times I've seen him hit the field, he's made plays. Like, it's just, what is going on? Things aren't working. What is happening right now? You're 1-5. Make the change. You win these next 2 games, you get to 3-5. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay. And the way the NFL is going right now, 3-5 might actually be beneficial. God, the season's over. You might be in the thick of it at 3-5. But you got to beat the Browns, who have a good defense and a good run game. You're going to get torched. And you got to beat the Falcons, who just beat the Buffalo Bills. Bijan Robinson and Michael Penix Jr. are going to destroy this defense. So it gets to a point where, what are you doing? Like, what are you going to do? And then you got a short week to face the Ravens. Then you got a long week that you take Buffalo on at home. Drama. Lots of drama with this team, and it doesn't, there's no light at the end of the tunnel yet. And I made the comment, because again, I've talked to you guys about my plan and how I would fire Greer first and then go hire your GM and then have him decide things. But I don't know if they can do that. Comment below. Look it up. Ask your friends. Can you hire your GM midseason? Or is it a situation kind of like when you're hiring a head coach, that it's something that happens at the end of the year? Because I have a list of GMs that I would like the Dolphins to talk to. And again, is it a situation where it's like, nope, season's going on, we're not going to do this now, wait? And is that why he hasn't made a move on anybody? Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you tomorrow with my picks. But on that, like usual, stay classy and fins up.